Do you want to know how to teach children manners? I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach all about parenting, good communication, and child development, and manners are part of that. And in this video, that's what we're talking about, manners. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about what manners really do for children and how you can set up an environment where your children will learn to love having manners. Many people don't like manners, especially when they're children. It seems like a burden. I remember when I was a child, I had a neighbor who would always correct my manners. In fact, I would say, "Oh, can I have that?" And she would say, "Can I have that, please?" "May I have that, please?" would be the proper way to say it. And, "Oh, may I have that, please?" You know what? I'm actually glad that she fixed my manners. It's not that my parents didn't teach me manners, but they were a little bit more casual than this woman. And this woman helped me evaluate myself regularly so that I could properly learn my manners. My father did teach me. He was definitely more into proper speech. His parents made sure that he understood proper grammar, proper speaking. He taught us that we needed to master our mother tongues and that then we could make a mark upon the world that would be noticed. When he said that to me, it struck something. He was right, I realized. People who are eloquent, people who can speak well, people who can explain themselves well, those are the people I always wanted to listen to. So I needed to make sure that I mastered my speech. I have to tell you, in recent years, I've been very disappointed in people in high position who have very crass, unrefined ways of speaking. As soon as I hear them start to swear when they're in a legislative session or on the floor of Congress, and they start to say things that show disrespect for other people, I recognize this is a sign of unrefinement. Maybe they think they are appealing to the masses or the regular men and women of the world, but really it makes them someone we can't look up to. It really makes them someone that we're not sure we can take seriously. That's the power of manners. I know there's some places in the country or in the world where manners mean more than in other places. But no matter what, we should be asking ourselves what we can do to teach our children refinement. Years ago, I read an article by someone about refinement and about manners, and it said that if a person is raised on a steady diet of hamburgers and French fries, that they will not turn out to be a gourmet. And chances are they won't even appreciate gourmet cooking. You could serve them something that's really fancy and they wouldn't even want it. And the reason why is because they were raised on something less. People that are raised with a refined palate, people that eat different seafoods, people that eat different gourmet dishes, those are people who are refined and they appreciate the finer things in life. That's what it means to have manners, to be refined. If you weren't raised on manners, then you don't even know you're lacking refinement. But a parent can teach their child about being refined, being polished, and what they can do for you. I remember having a youth leader at my church who even spent time to teach us how to walk. She was a very refined person. She taught us how to sit with our legs crossed in a way that didn't look crass. She taught us how to eat a spaghetti dinner without getting it all over the place. And she taught us how to walk in a way that would attract proper attention instead of a way that would not attract good attention. Do we go to those lengths to teach our children anymore? I don't know if we do as a culture, but it's a good idea to bring some of those things to our attention. Now, some of the main manners things that people want are the please and thank you, the sign of respect where a child would go to someone and say, "May I help you with something?" That's the sign of good manners. Or maybe when they just see someone is in distress, that they would think, "What can I do to help?" Possibly they would not use crass language. These are all things that usually relate to things that we say. Sometimes the things that we do also show manners as well, though. Holding a door open for another person, helping another person find something something that they're missing, when a person falls down, helping them up, even in a sporting match. These would all be signs of good manners, good etiquette. So how do we teach these things to our children? So we're going to talk about key things you can set up in your home culture and environment so that your children learn proper etiquette. But first, do you see that subscribe button? Click it now. Okay, so number one has to be mentioned. We've got to make sure that we just expose the elephant in the room. That is, that manners and etiquette are learned by example more than anything else. So, you're the example. So you have to make sure that you have proper manners. Not just things like not being rude, but also things like helping others, serving others, being optimistic. These are all things that fall into the manners category. Having good table etiquette. All of these things are going to be learned best from you. Now, one thing that you can do is not just be the example, but make sure that your children are exposed to other good examples. So make sure that you invite people over who have good manners, who show good manners. Maybe they're your parents, like the grandparents of the children, or friends. Maybe you are going to have an etiquette dinner. Maybe people you know don't have good manners, but you want them to practice having good manners with your children, and so you decide to have an etiquette dinner with your friends and family members. You might invite grandma and grandpa over and say, we're teaching the children etiquette. We've noticed a problem with manners, so we are going to have a manners dinner. Now, I have to tell you something. I have a great friend, and she teaches something that is so valuable. She teaches manners and etiquette. She has a business, actually, and it's called the Etiquette Factory. And so you can probably find her, some of her videos and her trainings online. So if you need some of the, what are some of the etiquette things I should teach? I don't really know yet. She's going to be able to give you all the things that I haven't talked about just yet. Okay? So look up the Etiquette Factory when you have time, and you'll learn a lot of things there. But there are key things that you can do culturally to teach etiquette that are going to lay a foundation for all the stuff that my friend Monica teaches in her etiquette trainings. So let's talk about some of those things. So we said be the example. That's important. Expose your children to other people that are good examples of etiquette. That means go out to dinner at nice places sometimes, you know, the places where you need to dress up. Okay? Or have dress-up dinners of your own if you're not having that in the budget. My parents did not actually have a big budget for fancy dinners. My friends' parents would take me to fancy meals. My parents always made sure that they taught me what you would wear and what you would do at these places. My dad was a public school teacher, so we didn't have a ton of money. But that didn't mean that they never took us out to dinner. So when they did take us out to dinner, even if it wasn't a super fancy place, they made sure that they pre-taught proper manners and etiquette. So that's going to be one of your things you want to do in your family is pre-teach. Have your practices at home around your own dinner table and then bring the other people in or go to the other places. Talk about why you want to have these manners. What do they do for you? What do they do for other people? They show appreciation to other people when you thank them for something, right? Teach your children to thank people for their gifts. You know, it's a really great thing you can do is if anyone ever gives them a birthday gift or a Christmas gift, teach them to write thank you notes. An actual written note, not just a text. Send it in the mail with an actual stamp. People don't do that kind of stuff anymore. And that is a sign of gratitude. Anytime someone sends me an email of a thank you, a text with a thank you, or a note with a thank you, which is more rare, I think someone taught them. Someone taught them to always express gratitude. That is a good thank you. Now, what's one way that you can show the example of that? By praising your children. That's a great way to express gratitude. In fact, I have a video on this channel called How to Teach Children Gratitude. Be sure to go there because there's some key things that you can do to teach just that one etiquette principle of gratitude. So in the teaching self-government type of parenting, there are 4 basic skills that we teach children. The 4 basic skills each teach one of the skills of self-government. But guess what? These lay a foundation for good manners and gratitude as well. So this one teaches following instructions. This book teaches accepting no answers and criticism. This teaches accepting consequences. And this teaches disagreeing appropriately. Were you aware that when your children are being parented by you and you are teaching them how to just follow instructions from you, that you're also teaching them good manners? You are. One of the first steps in all of these skills is to have good eye contact, to look at the person. When you look at the person, you're showing them, I honor you. I'm ready to listen to you. I want to understand you. You establish a connection with them. Looking at the person just in regular interactions teaches your children to look at a person later, so that when grandma comes over, your child doesn't spend their time just looking at their phone and not looking at grandma. In 2019, we met my husband's biological parents. So my husband was adopted and had always wanted to find his biological parents. So the first people to meet the biological parents were me and my son Porter. Now at the time he was in high school. He did have a device on him that he could use, but you know what? He didn't use it the whole time that he met these new people that were coming into our lives, these new grandparents that he had never met before. And you know what? My new father-in-law and mother-in-law sent me a message after meeting me and Porter for the first time. And they said, I've got to tell you something. Your son is amazing. Porter's incredible. He wasn't just on his devices doing his own thing. He was part of the conversation and he was so patient. Even when it wasn't about him, he sat there and he listened. We don't usually see manners like that in young people. He knew that it is not good manners to be on your device when somebody else is around. How did he learn that? Because we aren't on our devices at the table. We don't look on our devices when somebody else is talking to us. That is a family way. That is a no answer. Remember that green children's books that I talked to you about? It's all about no answers. Following Instructions, that's the red children's book, and the green children's book, Accepting No Answers. Those are the books London LaRae Says Okay and Porter Earns a Quarter. Those books teach children how to actually follow through on the manners training that you've given them. So you're going to pre-teach them about the manners. You might learn some of those from my friend Monica, and then you are going to use Following Instructions and Accepting No Answers and criticism, as well as accepting consequences and maybe disagreeing appropriately, all in the execution of all of these manners. A person should be able to disagree appropriately if they have good manners. They should be civil in their discourse. Also should be able to take responsibility for themselves. If they didn't follow the instructions for a manner or accept the no answers for a boundary line that they shouldn't cross over, then they should be able to accept the consequences and the teaching moment that comes from their parents. So that's right, even correcting your children is a manners training, and we teach all of that at Teaching Self-Government. There's so much more information on these skills and others that I would like to teach you, but you need to definitely find out more information. I suggest going to my next video, which is the not so known secret for parenting success. Click on the link to that video now and you will learn how to set up that environment so that your children will accept the no answers, follow the instructions, disagree appropriately. We'll go into detail about all of those skills in that full-length class next.